This morning I was working out in a pool with some friends, and I started thinking about all the number of times I hear people say something about their bodies, something negative about their bodies, something they don't like about their bodies. And I think a lot of times, especially women, will preemptively put themselves down in order to kind of acknowledge to the rest of the world, okay, I know I'm fat, or I know I'm not in good shape, or I know I'm kind of ugly, or I know that I'm not tan, or I know that I don't have big breasts, or I know that I'm not shaped the way most people think is beautiful. And it really struck me how, especially women and maybe men, I don't know, but how self-conscious we are about our bodies and how uncomfortable we are in our bodies even just by ourselves, and how even more uncomfortable we are with our bodies when we are in a locker room or a changing room or a bathroom, and all that body shame that we have. And then it got me thinking about all the things that we could do to ourselves to make ourselves more comfortable with our bodies, all the different cosmetic surgeries we could have, all the different products we could buy to make ourselves look prettier or younger, all the ways we can make ourselves thinner and more attractive. And it made me really sad because what I'm hearing now from the transgender movement is that someone who believes that they were born in the wrong body and that they're uncomfortable with their body and they want to change it, that is not a mental health issue, and that insurance companies and Medicaid and Medicare should cover cosmetic treatments for these people to help them feel more comfortable in their body. And it made me wonder, why is it that a transgender person's discomfort with their body is somehow elevated to a higher level than biological women who are uncomfortable in their body? Why is it that we have a movement now, a social justice movement, that is advocating that transgender people should get the cosmetic surgery and medical treatment to change how their bodies look so that they are more comfortable in them, but nobody is advocating for the same rights for biological women? And first of all, I'd like to say thank goodness. I'm glad that women are not further encouraged to get cosmetic surgery, to take treatments that might cause them damage in the future, that their insurance company doesn't cover for expensive cosmetics for them to look younger or more attractive. Because I think that reinforces negative stereotypes and all the things that already make women feel comfortable about themselves. And really what we need to be doing is moving away from the idea that we judge people based on their appearances. And we need to help children learn to accept who they are and be comfortable in their bodies with who they are. And so the transgender movement's argument that people who are trans somehow are more deserving of cosmetic treatment and therapies that help their body conform more to how they want to look is really, first of all, dangerous to women, because generally speaking, trans women, males who claim to believe that they're women, generally accept a very traditional stereotype of what beauty is, and that's how they're framing how they want to look. So they're reinforcing the very damaging stereotypes of beauty that women need to get away from. And then they're getting these treatments paid for by insurance and the government. And all of this is so that they feel more comfortable with who they are. So why are they allowed to access these treatments to become more comfortable with who they are and other people aren't? And to me, this is just a sign of how distorted the narrative has gotten and the social justice movements have gotten. That we are now comfortable with paying for treatments to make people's bodies look more stereotypically like one sex or the other, and to embrace the ideal of beauty for that sex in a way that people who believe that they were born in the wrong body are accepted and encouraged to express their feelings of discomfort in a way that actually causes negative gender stereotypes to be reinforced for the sex that they say they want to be. So, as a woman, there are about 100 things, I'm sure, that I would like to change about myself to be more comfortable. And this is because we live in a society where we now believe that if somebody has something about themselves that they don't like, that is the defect of the body rather than the mind. And that it's okay to have this sort of dualism between mind and body, where if your body doesn't conform to how you want it to, you can do all kinds of things to change it. And what message this sends to children ultimately is not to be comfortable with who they are, not to embrace who they are, but to believe the messages that they are getting from the media and from advertising about how men and women are supposed to look, about what is beautiful, about what is attractive. And ultimately, this is hurting everybody because nobody can conform to the ideal stereotypes of beauty. Nobody. And if we keep reinforcing that this is what you're supposed to look like if you're a woman, this is what you're supposed to look like if you're a man, then we will never get to the point where we can look at people, all the diversity of people, and say, you are beautiful how you are. You are a lovely and beautiful person just how you are. You don't have to change anything about yourself. You are lovable. And that message to be ingrained in our children, that no matter what they look like, they are lovable, that they're being affirmed, they're being accepted, they're being tolerated, they're being loved, is not conditional on how they look, how they are in the world, that they're inherently lovable, that they're inherently beautiful. So I really want to push back on the idea that somebody who is who feels uncomfortable with themselves and their body should be encouraged to change their body to make it look how they would like to look. Because if we go down that route, then there's no reason why a man who wants to be more muscly shouldn't get on steroids, because he doesn't identify as a scrawny, nerdy little guy. He identifies as a bodybuilder. And by goodness, we should definitely allow him to have those steroids, even though they're going to cause lots of medical complications. If that's what he wants, that's what he should get. If we have a child who's shorter than the other kids, we should give that child growth hormones, because that child doesn't identify as a short person. That child identifies as a tall person, and maybe that child wants to play basketball. So even though growth hormones are incredibly dangerous, we should give that child growth hormones, because that will make him feel better about himself. Or what about the anorexic? Let's give her liposuction. She feels fat. Let's go ahead and give her liposuction so she'll stop feeling fat. And here is the fallacy of the transgender narrative, is that these treatments ultimately do not help someone feel better about themselves. Because what the message is that you need that external approval in order to be okay. That is the basic message. And if you don't get that external approval, if someone misgenders you or someone dead names you, then that is a violent affront to you as a person. Well, basically means that no matter what we do, we are always going to rely on external validation to feel good about who we are. And that is incredibly dangerous, because we can't always get external validation. And if children grow up thinking that that's what they have to have in order to be okay, we're gonna have generations of kids that are incredibly screwed up and who are never gonna feel okay with who they are. They're always going to be chasing a dream of what their ideal self is supposed to be. They're going to be trying to get more surgeries, using more cosmetics, trying to buy the latest and greatest fashions so that they can be approved of. When in fact, ultimately, we need to teach them that even if they are wearing threadbare clothes, they're okay. Even if they are not attractive, they're okay. Even if they're have leprosy, my goodness, even if they have leprosy, they're beautiful and they're lovable and they're valid who they are. So this is a message that I just want to. I believe that when someone calls someone like me a transphobe, that it's just the opposite. I am not a transphobe. I am someone who wants to teach people to love themselves as they are, to not feel like they have to seek invasive medical intervention in order to feel comfortable with who they are. I am encouraging people to dissolve that mind-body dualism and realize that we are an integrated being, mind, body, and soul, all one, and that we can't be separated out. These pieces are all integrated. So if there's dissonance, it's not the fault of the body. If there's dissonance, it means there's something going on with the way we are thinking about ourselves that needs to be addressed, that needs to be healed, so that we aren't reliant on external validation to feel okay about ourselves.